What's up, everybody? If you're new to Project SAX, my name is Devin, and this is my channel, Project SAX. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 things you want as a saxophone player. Now, you won't see my face per se because this is a sax log. I usually don't show my face on sax logs, but today we're going to be talking about what you want as a saxophone player. These top 10 things will consist of things that you need, also things that you want. Now, things will be rated on according to the Project SAX's opinion on what we think you need as a saxophone player. Now, your opinions might vary. That's why there's a comment box below. Now, let me know how you feel. Let me know which ones you think need to be at a certain rating. But we're going to start off with number 10. Number 10 is a sax stand. Now, I understand if you're not a performer, you don't necessarily need a sax stand, especially if you're a student. You sit in the classroom with a whole bunch of people, and everybody doesn't have a sax stand, so your mentor or your teacher is like, oh, well, let's not have a sax stand for one person and not for everybody else. So, yeah, that's pretty much what's going to happen, especially if you're a doubler, which means you have more than one instrument, especially if you're an orchestra type of player and you have maybe you're doubling on alto and soprano. You play a soprano solo and then you'll play alto for a main part. Now, the sax stand itself, it really, quality wise, is really important. Now, remember that this sax stand is holding up your livelihood, your saxophone. So you don't want to necessarily get one that's cheap. You want to get one that's durable, yeah, and you want to get one that fits your needs. Let's say, for instance, you play a soprano and saxophone, like in the example before. You have a soprano and you're doubling with an alto, or you play alto doubling with soprano, or baritone, or tenor saxophone. Now, you have the option of putting 3 saxophones on a stand, but you would have to necessarily buy that stand. You would necessarily have to get a stand that applies to how many saxophones that you have. So basically what I'm saying is get a stand that's sturdy, durable, and then also get a stand that fits your needs, which means if you have 3 saxophones that you need to put down and play one, that means you play all 4 saxophones, or you have 2 saxophones that you need to put one down and play, you need to get that stand that applies there. Also, if you are a very, very, very cautious person to the point where you're not wanting to purchase it without, trying it out, try to bring your saxophone to wherever your music provider is or your music department store is, and try to actually put your saxophone on that stand and see how it works for you. Now, you don't want to get a stand that is hard for you to adjust and all this other stuff, because you want something that you can whip out, you can put down and start warming up. You don't want anything that can be very cumbersome. So make sure that you can travel with it, and basically just get what's best for you. It's pretty much common sense after that point. Now, coming in at number 9, we have the MP3 player. Now, I think I want to switch a spot with this. Number 9 might be a little bit too low on the list of top things you should buy for your saxophone, because the reason is, when you think about the MP3 player, CDs are now obsolete, pretty much. You can still buy a CD, but when it comes to music in general, you have the MP3 player, which in turn gives you the files that you need to listen to be a better musician. Now, the MP3 player plays those files, and you can listen on the go. As a musician, you really need to be listening to somebody. If you want to become a better musician, you want to be listening to somebody. For instance, jazz. I listen to Candy Dulfer a lot. I listen to Charlie Parker a lot. I listen to Johnny Hodges a lot. Well, not a lot, not necessarily Johnny Hodges, just to be a little picky. I'm not big on Johnny Hodges, but I also listen to Kathy Jensen. She plays with a big band, and just a whole bunch of different artists that I like. But generally, you want to get an artist that you like, you want to listen to them, and you want to listen to them frequently. So if you find a lick or something that they do that you like, or something in their sound that you want to replicate, please go ahead and feel free, because that really helps you as a musician. Now, as I always say, there's no copy of your favorite artist. For instance, if I like Boney James, I'm not going to be Boney James again just because I play what he plays. I'm going to take literally what he does and make it my own. And then find out how to do something like that, or find out how to get that confidence, or find out how to do something like he does without using what he does. So using an MP3 player to help me achieve that by buying a lot of MP3 files of Boney James, Candy Dulfer, or whoever I listen to, really, really helps out. Now, we're going down to number 8 with CDs. Now, this is one I want to kind of change with MP3s, but when I explain it, you might understand why I put CDs at number 8. Now, the reason I put CDs at number 8 is because CDs are very, very, in my opinion, they're very, they're relics. They're classic. CDs, they're important to me because when you go to, let's say, a concert of your favorite artist, they're not going to have a whole bunch of MP3 files for you, to put on your iPod on a computer that you just click and drag and drop on your iPod. No, they're going to have a CD for you, and this CD means something to you as a musical artist. So when you go there, you go to that concert, you get that CD signed. That CD is now worth more sentimental value than an MP3 player could ever be, because they can't sign your they could sign your MP3 player, but it won't mean as much, in my opinion, because say you go to a whole bunch of different concerts. I go to the Candy Dulfer concert, I go to the Boney James concert, then I go to the Stanley Baird concert. You're not going to be able to get all of them to sign. It's not even worth it anymore. You want something that unique from that artist, that you can say, hey, I went there, I bought this, I got them to sign this. It has a lot more of the artist in that CD album, with their picture, their art. Sometimes artists get really jazzy with their, covers, and they might sign off on it, and you can see pictures of the artist that you would never have seen if you were to buy the MP3. Now, considering that you do have a certain amount of tracks and you don't have as much leeway as an MP3, which means you can't really choose, what tracks you are if you have a CD. So, to choose the tracks specifically that you want, and you really don't have as much leeway of the new generation, with the CD. But it's very, very important. It's really, really sentimental to me personally, and I think it would behoove you to actually have that relic as a timeless thing in your possession. So as a musician, you can appreciate it that much more, and the artist that much more. And now we're moving on, to music. Now, music is very, very important, and I say this as a musician who should really, really read music a lot more. I just have this issue with reading music, but I've been reading music actually a lot more, and sight reading a lot more. But music is important for that simple fact, and also, just music in general. You are a musician. You need music. You need the theory books. You need the Omni books. You need the method books. You need everything that will make you better as a musician. And even though you read them and you're like, oh, I don't know what this is going to help me with in the future, actually do it. Actually go about having a conscious effort of learning something. Try to actually find out what this exercise is teaching me. What is this song teaching me? If I'm playing a Charlie Parker song called Confirmation, what are these licks and these turnarounds and these chord changes going to teach me further down as a musician? So number 7, coming in with the music and the method books, the transpositions and all that other good jazz that has music written on it that you need to buy. So going down to number 6, we have the care kit. Now, this is extremely important, in my opinion, for a musician to have. Let's see. As a musician, you have a care kit with your instrument always. This is imperative because no telling what, especially as a saxophone player, no telling what can happen. Water might be able to get into your horn. A little bit too much moisture got into your horn one day. You need to swab it out. Or you have a really, really dry cork. You need to put some cork grease on it because your mouthpiece doesn't fit on there. This is a physical application type thing. With this care kit, you have your swabs, your cork greases, your oils, and this is the physical application of your saxophone that you're trying to keep in contact or maintain. So when you're maintaining your saxophone, you really, really want to have that care kit in your possession at all times in your case, and this will help you be able to perform at your optimum level. You know, because it doesn't matter what you have, or what music you have, if you can't play the saxophone without your pad sticking, or you can't play your saxophone without something slowing you down. I was actually in a middle school yesterday, and a kid came up to me. Well, I was listening to a kid play, and he was like, it's always squeaking, and I noticed that a lot of his pads and a lot of his keys were they were just not performing the way they weren't responding the way they should have. And no wonder he was squeaking, especially up in the octave key range, where the octave key wasn't performing quite well because the saxophone was very, very stiff and not oiled and not. But he's a middle school kid, so what can you do? But you always need to have a care kit. Moving on to number 5. I want to say number 5 is it's a little bit different. This is kind of something I threw in there. It's not necessarily as important as people think, but it is important for us who are savvy about our sound and want to be comfortable while playing. Now, I chose number 5 as a good saxophone. Now, a good saxophone can really, really change somebody's opinion on playing the saxophone. Because generally as a beginner, you get a beginner horn. That's a Yamaha Yas 23, a Bundy Selmer model, usually, maybe a Selmer, something Selmer that's beginner. I don't necessarily know exactly. I think the AS 500 series is a little bit more intermediate, but generally you want to get a saxophone that really, really suits how you play and your level of playing. Now, when you have the younger models for the people who haven't younger experience, let me say, you have the Yas 23. That's an easier horn to play. In comparison to maybe the Jupiter Capital Edition. So if you are looking forward to being comfortable while you're on stage or while you're performing your solos or whatever you do per se, you really want to get a saxophone that won't hold you back and won't force you to finger something that is just impossible for you to finger. Now, there's a whole bunch of different applications that I can go into sound-wise and fingering-wise, but generally you want to get one that makes you comfortable, and going out and trying saxophones really, really, really can make a difference in the way you play and the way you even have an outlook on playing your instrument, your saxophone. Now, make sure that the saxophone is good in comparison when it's at optimum condition. It means the pads are hitting the everything is being sealed at the correct time. Because saxophones are very temperamental instruments and they have a lot of work into them. That's very, very solid at times, but can be very, very detrimental if you have one little leak. So that is number 5. I'm going on to number 4, which is a good strap. Now I can change 4 and 5 around, but if you don't even have a strap, it's really, really hard for you to play the saxophone. It is really, really hard for you to play the saxophone if you don't have a strap. Who's holding your saxophone if you don't have a strap? Especially if you're moving fast and you're going up to the palm keys, the D, E, and F, and the F sharp, and even in the altissimo register in some cases. What are you gonna do when you don't have that sax? On a leash, and not necessarily a leash per se, but something to support it. I mean, you're holding a vertically played instrument, much like a clarinet, or an oboe. So you need to have some of that weight on your own shoulders while you're playing, and you need a good strap, something comfortable, not cutting your neck while you're playing. I've experienced some cheap straps in my day that really have almost cut my neck while I was playing, especially in the marching band. When you're marching with a cheap strap and you're moving your saxophone and your saxophone has you have a neck strap that moves with your saxophone, especially the cheaper ones that don't have the elastic in them. They really tend to be like rope and cut your neck. So get something that's comfortable for you to play,